Hey guys, HardlyBriefDan here with episode 45 of the Unity Make an RPG series. Today we're going to work on status effects and continue chugging away at the battle calculation script that we started in the last video. For a quick little update, or a review actually, I'll go ahead and open up the battle calculation script and kind of go over what we did last time and what we're going to be continuing doing. So last time we created a new script called Battle Calculations where we're using our stack calculation script and a few other things. We're sending our ability, which is the ability that we used, and we're getting the ability that we used from the button that we press, and then we're sending it into this calculation here and we're outputting a damage amount. The damage amount right now is we're using our main stat and secondary main stat, or secondary stat, or second main stat, whatever I called it, and we're using a portion of it. So it's like we're going to be using right now, we're just using 50% of our main stat, and then we're going to use 25% of our second main stat, or secondary stat, whatever you want to call it. And that's just for right now, that's just for ability power. This is probably pretty strong and probably too strong for now, but we can go ahead and figure it out and modify it later. I just wanted to get a formula up for ability power first. But like I said in the last video, we're going to go ahead and build our base status effect and then I'll talk about where you can apply this and stuff, and then we'll go ahead and jump into programming that in and adding it to our battle calculations. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Again, I'm using Unity 4.6. We're not going to be using much of the GUI stuff yet, in this video at least, but I am in there, so you might want to go ahead and download it when you get a chance. So what we'll do is under abilities, here in our scripts folder abilities, we'll go ahead and make a new folder, and I'm actually going to call this status effects. So status effects, and you don't have to call them status effects either, by the way. If you have a different name that you like more, then go ahead and use that. But I'm going to go ahead and call this a base status effect, and then we'll go ahead and create it. Now the way you can handle this, if you have tons and tons of status effects, you might want to have a database full of them. I'm just going to go ahead and create scripts of status effects. So like we'll do a couple basic ones like burn, sleep, and maybe like paralyze or something like that. But if you want to have, maybe your game is pretty complicated and you have tons of status effects, like, I don't know, stunned, confused, all those normal status effects you've probably seen in most RPGs. If you have all those, instead of creating a script for all of them, you can do that. I've done that before, and it kind of gets, it's organized, but it's not super easy to edit. So you might want to create some sort of database with them all in. And then using kind of what we talked about in the item database video a few episodes ago, you can apply that same code base and kind of work around and create the new status effect input from a database like that. But we'll go ahead and get started. This base status effect is going to be set up very, very similar like all of our other base abilities. I know you guys have seen it several times, so I'll try to go ahead and blow through it. But sometimes this stuff is pretty not monotonous. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and actually open up the base ability. I'm going to copy a lot of that because that's basically the same thing, and we'll just go ahead and change the name to status effect. So I went ahead and copied all this, right click, copy, or just control C, whatever you like. I'm jumping back into the status effects script. Let me zoom in for you guys here. And so now we're going to go ahead and erase all that, and I'll copy or I'll paste it, which is control V. And I'm going to go ahead and change all these. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of mono behavior as well. So now we have a status effect name, right? That would be one of them. Status effect name. I'm going to go ahead and copy the status effect part here. We want a status effect description. We want an ID, I guess, for now. We'll have a power, and then we'll have a cost, but the cost is going to be, we'll probably relabel that for now, or just in a second, excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and replace ability name, all these things in our setters and getters now, because we need to do that in order for this to work. Go ahead and copy ID. Again, I'm just double clicking to highlight, and control C to copy and control V to paste, and it just makes this a little bit faster here. I'll go ahead and copy cost just because, and we're gonna go ahead and relabel all this, right? So it's not gonna be status effect, or it's not gonna be ability name, it's gonna be status effect name. Go ahead and make that a capital S. Going to go ahead and copy the status effect here, Control C, and I'm going to replace ability. So now what we're going to talk about is kind of how I want to handle status effects, and I briefly discussed it in the last video, and so I'm just going to go ahead and talk about it a little bit more now since we're here. My basic idea, for status effects is going to be having a there won't actually be cost to it, but basically it's going to be a percentage based, right? And so we're going to have this status effect applied percentage, or we'll call it status effect apply percentage. It's going to be an integer, and it's going to range, we're going to say, from 1 to 100, okay? So 1% to 100%. And basically what this is going to do is, in our code, we're going to say, hey, based on the percentage, this is the chance that this will be applied when you use this move. So let's say you have a lava burst or something, flame spell. Okay, you launch a flame spell and you have a 50% chance of being burned. Well, that's going to come from our status effect apply percentage, right? So the code is going to say, hey, well, this has a 50% chance. Let's go ahead and roll for it, create a random value, and say, does it get applied? If you don't want to do that, you don't have to do that. You can go ahead and just, you can kind of skip the apply percentage. If you want all of them to go ahead and be applied, you can do that. And then the other thing is, maybe you want to have status effect priorities. So let's say I mentioned in the last video that we're going to stack all the stats. Okay, so if you want to have you can be burned, confused, and asleep at the same time. We're going to do that in this video. But if you want to do priorities and stuff, maybe confusion takes priority over sleep or something, or you can only have one or the other. That's your choice, and you're going to have to kind of adjust the code here to kind of fit your needs. But this will give you a base starting point for status effects. The other thing I kind of wanted to talk about is where these can be used. So now that we've created a base status effect, you can actually apply them to your weapons, to your items in game, to potions, just spell, anything really. Status effects can be applied anywhere. And one cool thing that you could do, I thought about today, I hadn't really thought about, but this is how you would do it, is you could add a status effect to a scene. So let's say, and by a battle scene. And so what I mean by this is, let's say you're in the desert. All right. Let's say your story or the game you're designing takes place in a desert, or I don't know, the woods or something, right? And say the status effect on the desert. So when you enter battle in the desert, let's say it has a status effect that's dust storm or sandstorm, right? And that sandstorm status effect can be applied to both the enemy and the player. And so you can constantly calculate that damage based on whatever this general status effect is. So that's still going to be a base status effect, right? It's just going to have it's going to have a different application. It won't just be from an ability, it'd be from a world standpoint or a scene standpoint. So you might want to think about that if you're going to be doing that. That's how I would do it. I would use the same status effect code and just say, hey, in our battle start, I'll go ahead and open that up. We have, in our battles prepare battle script, which is in our battle state start script, which is here, where we create the enemy and we choose who go first stuff, and we determine our player vitals. You could also say, hey, check to see if there's a status effect that goes along with this battle scene. Does the scene, we can say, I'm going to add a comment here under prepare battle, say, does the scene have a status effect? And then if it does, go ahead and apply that effect throughout the fight. You could also have it set up so it only starts at the beginning. Maybe it's random. This all these different things you could do. It's going to be down to you. I can't cover all that because that's based on your design. I just want to give you guys kind of a general idea of how I would handle status effects, and that's what we're going to do now. So going back to the base status effects script, I'm going to go ahead and actually delete. I'm going to change the name of the status effect cost, and I'm going to label it status effect apply percentage. Okay, and this is exactly what I was just talking about before, right? Percentage. I'm going to go ahead and copy that and paste it here. I'm going to copy the apply percentage part, and I'm going to replace the cost. Right. So now we have our base status effects set up. I'm going to really quickly try to go ahead and create some status effects. And I know, You guys probably hate watching me do that, but you know, you got to code it in, you got to get it done. So we're going to go ahead in our status effects folder. I'm going to go ahead and create 2 status effects for now. We'll go ahead and do sleep effect. I'm going to actually label it sleep status effect, so I know, it's more descriptive. And we'll go ahead and do burn. And basically, these are 2 simple ones, but they're going to kind of represent 2 different states, right? We have a damage state and then a turn state, if you will. And so what we want to do with that's like kind of show you how to handle both, just in case you have both. So here we have, let's see, we got the burn status effect and our sleep status effect. I'm going to go ahead and grab the / kind of just to show you how it all should be done. So we can go ahead and delete all these Unity Engine system collections. We don't need model behavior. It looks like model behavior is going to give me a little error right now. So I'm going to go ahead and actually exit out all these just in case and reopen them. Sometimes model behavior gets confused. I don't know why, but we'll go ahead and fix that. So here I'm going to go ahead and copy the system.serializable from our /, which is just an ability, right? And we need that so that we can serialize this move. And my monodevelop has frozen for some reason. What is going on today? I'm going to go ahead and open it up again. Not sure what happened there. Here we go. So we have the sleep status effect. I'm going to go again, copy this sleep or the system.serializable. So Control C. This is in the / ability. I'm going to go ahead and paste it above the class. And again, that's so that we can save these. So we can serialize them later and save them in a different file. I talked about saving and loading and serializing objects, and this is the way you do it, right? With the serializable tag up at the top. So here we go. We have our burn status effect. I'm going to go ahead and create a new public, and it's going to be called burn status effect, right? And you can kind of see that what we did here. So when we create a new instance of this, it's going to inherit. It's going to be given all these things, right? So we have a status effect name, which is status effect. Why is it not finding it? Oh, it needs to inherit. Excuse me, it needs to inherit base status effect. Status effect. There we go. So now we're inheriting base status effect. This is a burn status effect, so it's going to get a status effect name. And I'm going to go ahead and set that equal to burn. Just burn. You can add, it's up to you. Status effect description is what we're going to do next. So we're going to go ahead and say burns enemy for a number of turns. And actually, that's something we forgot to add, and we'll go ahead and do that in just a second. We'll go ahead and say status ID. I'm going to set this just to 1. This would be good to use if you have, excuse me, if you build a database. So if you're doing the database way, you're probably going to want IDs so you can just access them by the ID value instead of the name. It will inherit all of its properties, but it's just quicker to search with numbers, I think, than... And actually, this should not be in parentheses. Excuse me. 1. I think ID is a... Let me check, actually. Base status effect. Let's see. ID is an integer. Okay, so we're good on that. So back into burn status. The power for this is going to be 10 for now. And this is like the base power, right? So maybe you want to affect how your status effects like scale and damage, and you can do that with stats and stuff, but you'll do that in the battle calculation. You could do that here if you want. You include the formula here. I'm just going to do all that math, in a separate script and stuff behind the scenes, if you will. But here we have status effect power, and then we're going to go ahead and do a status effect apply percent, and I'm going to go ahead and set this at 75. So that means for me it's a 75% chance. I'll go ahead and write a comment and just say this effect has a 75% chance of being applied. Okay, and I'm gonna have to add one more thing. I'm gonna go ahead and copy this private int status effect apply percentage. I'm gonna copy and paste that, and we're gonna change this to status effect turn. We'll say max turn. We're going to do max turn applied, and then we're going to go ahead and do another one. And you'll see what I'm doing this in a second. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And the way I just selected all that at one time, or in larger chunks is if you actually hold down the Control and Shift with your cursor anywhere in here. If you hold down Control and Shift, you see the cursors over here at the end. Control and Shift and use arrow keys, you can select words at a time instead of just single letters. But now we're going to go ahead and do max like that. Nope, not man, max, excuse me. So what this is going to do is we're going to be able to set a minimum and a maximum of how long this effect should be applied in turns. So this is for turn-based. This will not apply when we go ahead and jump into like a real-time combat thing that I know a lot of you guys want to see. So the max later, the max turn applied stuff, min max turn applied, can be applied to like as a time value. But for now, we're going to be turns. So basically, if you want your effect to last, 5 turns, then you go ahead and put. If you always want it to, last 5 turns, just do your min and max is equal to 5. If you want it to last from a random range between 2 and 6, this is how you can do that. Sleep effect. Maybe you probably only want it to last between 1 and 2 turns. That's up to you. Or 1 to 3 turns. You can go ahead and play around, and that's what we're going to add here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this public getter and setter down here. Control C to copy. I'm going to go ahead and enter, and paste one more time. I'm going to go ahead and copy this minimum turn applied and paste that down here. Going to go ahead and copy the max applied or turn applied, and just kind of play around and adjust to get these correct. So I'm going to go ahead and capitalize the S here. So now we have a minimum turn and maximum turn applied in our public getter and setter in our base status effect. So we can go ahead and add this to a burn status and then move on to the sleep and then continue on with programming. So we're going to go ahead and say status effect min turn applied. I'm going to go ahead and set this equal to 2, and then I'm going to go ahead and do status. And these are just random values again. I'm just throwing these out thin air. Okay, you can be whatever you want. So I'm going to do 2 and 6. So this will always burn if a burn is applied. So remember, it has a 75% chance of staying applied. And what we'll do is say, okay, well, it has 75% chance of staying applied, or 75% chance applying, and then we'll go ahead and we can either randomly pick a value between 2 and 6, or we can say, or we will randomly choose a value between 2 and 6, 2 through 6, or 2 up to and including 6. And then we can say it will either last 100% of that time, or it has a 75% chance of lasting each time, up to a maximum of however. So hopefully you get what I mean by that. I'll go ahead and explain it again. So like basically, if we choose, we'll have a random number generator, and the random number generator will be between our status effect min and max. Okay, so if we randomly say 3 times, if we randomly get a 3, so 3 is between 2 and 6. That means our burn will last a maximum of 3 times, but there's a 75% chance after each turn that it will either stay or leave, right? So there's a 75% chance it'll stay, 25% chance it will leave or it will go away, but it can only stay up a maximum of 3 times in that case. But that depends on what your random value is. So hopefully you get that. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and copy all this. I'm going to copy this little function here. I'm going to go ahead and in our sleep status effect, I'm going to go ahead and Control V to paste, and I'm going to change this instead of burn to sleep status effect. Okay, and this is where we're going to go ahead and change all this stuff. This inherits from base status effect, right? We don't need collections or Unity engine. Go ahead and going to go back to burn status effect, and why does this keep freezing like that? My model develop froze again. Not sure what's going on right now. My computer is freaking out. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and copy the serializable. Maybe it's it is that something with this solution over here is causing that to freeze it up. I'm sorry about this. I don't know what's going on. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this the system serializable. I'm going to go ahead and paste it above our sleep status effect like that. And now I'm going to go ahead and change our sleep name to sleep. And we're going to say sleep or puts. We'll say puts enemy to sleep for a number of turns. Status effect ID is going to be 2. The power is going to be 0 because it's not going to do any damage. Yours can. I'm going to say this gives a 100% the time it will apply, and we're going to go ahead and range this from 2 to 3. So in this case, if I roll a 3, then it's going to stay applied 3 times no matter what. It's a 100% chance. And actually, if you really wanted to get into it, you can say, well, you can create another variable here that says that could be in your base status effect. That's like a it could be status effect stay applied percentage. So maybe you want a different, maybe it has 85% chance of being applied, but it only has a 30% chance of staying applied. And you can kind of vary that. And actually, I'll go ahead and type that in. We won't use that for this video, or I don't know. I'll go ahead and type it just to show you guys, to be thorough. So we'll say status effect stay applied percentage like that. Again, sorry if you don't want any of this, but I think it'd be good for us to go over. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that and paste it down here real quick. Bam, like that. We'll go ahead and copy that and then go into our burn status effect underneath our applied percentage. We're going to go ahead and set this equal to, let's say, I'm going to keep it 75 now, but for our sleep, we'll go ahead and set it to like 25. Just so that we can use it later. Okay? Alright, so we have 2 status effects. We have burn and sleep. We have our base status effect here. And now, on our sword slash, we're going to need to go into our base ability and actually add it. So in our base ability script, I'm going to go ahead and open that up. We need to add a new private variable. It's going to be of type base status effect, right? And we're going to call it ability status effect. Now, this is only going to allow you to have 1, right? The way I just did that, it's only going to allow you to have 1. So if you want an ability to apply sleep, burn, and something else, then you want to go ahead and make an array. So you could go ahead and do base status effect array, right? And you can say ability status effects, like that. And that way, it will actually say new array. Like that. You're gonna have to give it a size, so actually a list would probably be way better here because it's variable. So that's what we'll do. I'll show you guys that. So you do using system dot collections, I think, and then dot generic, right? And that'll allow you to use a list. A list doesn't have to have a predetermined size, and it can change. You can add or remove. So what you'll do is do a private list. So it'll be a list of type base status effects, like that. Status effect, excuse me. And we'll say ability status effects, right? Like that. We'll set that equal to a new list of type base status effect. And then I think it needs parentheses like that. So like that. So this list will be able to be used on your abilities. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to create a public getter and setter for it. So we'll say public. It's going to be of type list of base ability or base status effect. Excuse me. Like that. And then we're going to call this ability status effects. And this, again, this is if you want to have hundreds of effects. You can just have one, like this line of code. I'll go ahead and comment that in just a second. Let me zoom in again. Sorry about that. Every time I close out a mod develop, it resets my settings back to, like what I personally use. So I always forget to zoom back in. So I really sincerely apologize. I try to remember it because I know a lot of you guys have mentioned that you can't see things too well. But okay, so we have this list here. We've created the public getter and setter for it. I need to go ahead and copy and paste this. Like that. Okay. So I guess we'll use the list for now, just because I'm sure more, that's probably more useful than just using one. So we'll go ahead and say base status effect. I'm going to actually comment out this line of code. Oh, we'll leave it, but we're going to say used for. No, we'll say allows each ability to have one status effect. Okay. And then this list down here will allow each ability to have multiple status effects. Okay. And this is going to go the same. So you're going to want to use this idea of a list or base status effect, like singular or plural, depending, for your items, like your potions and all that stuff, your swords and whatnot. At least that's what I would do. That's how I would handle it. Create a list if you want hundreds of them, not hundreds, but a couple of them. So maybe you want like maybe you have tiered gear or something, a high level gear will have status effects applied to them, like plus 10% intellect or something. You can go ahead and do that way. Which brings me to another idea, which would be, you guys go ahead, leave these in the comments and tell me what you think. But basically, have types of status effects. So you have a status effect that is a damage status effect, and you have a status effect. Actually, yeah, you have a damage status effect, and you have a stat status effect. And then you have maybe a state status effect. So if you have like a speed state, like increased speed, or a stat which gives you like a % increase of a stat, and then we have like a damage one like burn, which does damage. You can go ahead and leave that in the comments if you want to see me show you guys how I would handle that. If you like that idea, let me know. Leave it in the comments below, and we can tackle that problem. Okay, so we've added our base status effect. We've added status effects to our abilities. We've created 2 status effects, a burn and sleep status effect. Go ahead and create as many as you want. Go wild, be creative, do all that stuff. I am going to jump into Unity, and hopefully we don't have any errors, and we don't. So that's really good. And we can go ahead and jump into our turn-based battle script and go ahead again and talk about how we're handling status effects. So I'm actually going to open up our battle calculation script as well, and stat calculations, because I'm sure we'll need them all, at least for a little bit. Battle calculations. Okay, so here we are. We have a turn-based combat system. Right now we're in the calculate damage and add status effects states. That's where we're working in right now. We've already added player choice. We haven't played around with enemy choice yet, but we want to go ahead and calculate damage and status effects first. Okay, so basically, when we calculate our damage, we should be looking at a few things. We need to look at status effects, and before we can calculate the total damage. And I talked about last time how right now I was thinking about just going straight to calculate damage, and then going flip-flopping basically between calculate damage and adding status effects. And I'm actually going to go ahead and change that. I'm going to say we're going to go straight to add status effects, or we're going to go ahead and check actually. So we're going to jump into add status effects state. We're going to say, hey, does this ability have a status effect? Do we have any status effects on us? If we do, and if the ability does, let's go ahead and work with it and then go into calculate damage. That makes a little more sense, better flow, and we don't need to flip-flop states, hopefully. So in order to change that, we're going to have to go ahead and open up our script where we go ahead and change states, which I believe is actually just in the battle GUI, I think it was, right? Yeah. So here is where we have the display player choice, right? Instead of calculate damage, we're going to go ahead and move into add status effects, okay? And this, again, is where we're going to perform our first check. So we need to go ahead and create a new C# script. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the turn-based combat folder here. In the script, I'm going to go ahead and call it and say battle state add status effects. So now this is where we can do all of the status effects checks and balances, all that fun stuff, all that code we can do in this one script here. Much like how we handle the I don't have it open, but much how we handle the battle state start script, right? We don't inherit from model behavior because it's not attached to a game object, but we can go ahead and create a new instance of it in our turn-based combat state machine, right? That's what we did up here. So I'm actually going to go ahead and in our battle state add status effects script, I'm going to go ahead and delete model behavior because, again, we don't need that. We don't need the start and update functions. We're going to go ahead and Control S to save that, and we're going to go in the turn-based combat state machine script, and I'm going to go ahead and add the instance of that script. So we're going to go do a private battle state add status effects, and we're going to call this battle state status add status effects script. We'll set that equal to a new instance of that script, like so. Right, so now we can access this script and all the public functions and public variables in that script. So we'll go ahead and create a new public, script, or public function, and we're going to go ahead. It's not going to return anything. We're going to say check ability for status effects, right? So what we want to do is immediately check our status, see if this thing has a status effect. And you remember we created this public static variable called player used ability, so we can actually go ahead and send us the ability. So we're going to say in this check abilities for status effects, we're going to go ahead and send a base ability, and it's going to be used ability, much like we did with the battle calculations, right? We needed this ability to see what it has attached to it. So we know we've added a status effect. Oh, we haven't added a status effect yet, but we'll do it before we go ahead and check this stuff. But probably for this video, because we're already at 30 minutes, we'll go ahead and just make sure that we can see the status effect, and I'll go ahead and talk about how we're going to apply it to the character. So first function, we jump in here, we're going to say, hey, we need to check to see if our ability, check ability for status effects, right? So we're going to say if used ability dot status effect, I don't think we can say is not null, right? So we can go ahead and check that. So we'll say does not equal null, meaning it has something in it. I don't think that works, and that's just because of experience. It might. Let's go ahead and try that. Actually, in the / here, I'm in the / ability script that I created. I'm going to go ahead and add an ability, and I know I'm jumping around, so I apologize for that. But we're going to go ahead and do ability status effects, and I think you do .add, and then you can go ahead and do a base effect item, which I'm going to do as base. We'll do burn, I think, in it. New burn status effect. I'm probably going to get a whole bunch of errors here, so we'll go ahead and work through them. And I'm really surprised I did not. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the scene where I have the battle scene set up in. I'm going to go ahead and press play. Hopefully it starts up. It doesn't look like it's starting right now. I don't know why. Oh, wait. I'm not in that scene. Should be. Okay, yeah, here we go. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and press play. We're in player choice right now. I'm going to hit / and we're in status effects. Okay, so we're here. We're not calling that function. So in our turn-based status effects, turn-based combat state machine, in our battle state add status effects, I'm going to go ahead and call that script that we created, and it's going to, remember, the battle state add status effects script dot that public variable, which is check ability for status. It takes the player used ability, right? It takes an ability. In that battle state add status effects, in the function we just created, the check ability, I'm going to go ahead and create a debug log, and we're going to go ahead and say status effect here, right? And so this is just for testing. We're going to say, hey, if we actually are in this if statement, we want to see. If not, we're going to do see status effect not here, right? And this is just, hopefully we can go ahead and see if this works. We'll go ahead and press play. I'm going to do / status. Okay, it's going to do both of them. So it actually is in here. It's saying it's not null, so this exists, but we should know that exists because it's on the move, right? Actually, we'll go ahead and delete that. And let's see if we can get there just in general if I do normal attack. Yeah. So basically what this is saying is that there is this is on every ability because we're inheriting it. So what we need to do is look for the status effect. So there's a couple ways you can handle this. You can create a giant script, a list, or array of all your moves, or you can individually do them. So it's separate cases. This would be a good case switch. So what you could do is say, let's say, I'm going to go ahead and do case or switch. And it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a base ability dot status effect. I think, right? Base ability. Why can't I look at it? I guess we want to do used ability dot ability status effects dot let's see. So this is, I've never worked at the list like this before, so this is the first time for me, so sorry for this if there's any confusion. We're gonna say case, and we want to actually look for its a name, so let's see if we can access it. See, it's in a list, so we have to actually look at its index, right? Or contains. Let's see. So we actually want to go ahead and do like a for loop, right? We want to do like for int I is going to be equal to 0. It's going to be I'm trying to think of how I want to handle this. I apologize for this little delay in the video. You know what we'll do? I'm going to go ahead and think about this, and then in the next video we'll go ahead and apply it. You guys might have already figured it out. I'm just drawing a blank right now, but what we're going to do is make sure that we can see if the ability has a status effect is if statement. So we'll go if used ability dot ability status effects dot I think it's contains. I gotta look into this. Let me go ahead and add a in our base ability here we have this other base status effect which is just singular. I'm gonna go ahead and make a setter and getter for that, and that's just because I'm a little bit confused right now. I've confused myself. So I'm gonna go ahead and add this, and I'm gonna show you that we're actually passing in the status effect. But basically what we're gonna need to do, most likely that I'm just not thinking about, is we're gonna have to run through that list and kind of make and compare them, right? So we're gonna have to say, hey, does this list of ability status effects contain any of the available status effects, right? So what you can do is you can use for loops for that and compare, and then output that status effect. So let's say your ability has 2 status effects. We can create a list, a public list that says, hey, these are all the available status effects. Does this list contain any of those? If it does, output those, right? So tell me what those are. That's what we will work on creating that next time. But I want to show you that we can actually see in the status effect, because that's fun. So we'll go ahead and do ability status effect. It's going to be equal to a new burn status effect, right? And I'm doing this the singular way, so you guys can go ahead and get started on working on your status effects. Just in case I can't get a video out tomorrow. So I want to leave you guys in a good spot. If you understood what I was saying about the for loops, kind of comparing all your status effects to whatever is equipped in that ability, then by all means go ahead and code that and let me know how it works out in the comments below. I went ahead and added a burn status effect to our sword slash. In our battle state add status effects, I'm going to go ahead and do the used ability dot status effect, right? Not the plural, status effect, and we're going to go ahead say if that's equal to a burn status effect. I think we'll go ahead and get the name, status effect name. If that's equal to, we know it should be burn, right? Like that. So if this ability has this, we can say, we'll just do a debug statement that says try to apply effect. And then we'll say try to apply effect. Let's do try to apply effect period. Spell or ability has space quote plus blank has we're gonna do the number, so we're gonna go used ability dot effect dot percentage apply percentage. So we're gonna say try to apply effect ability has blank percent, right, chance. So we're gonna go ahead and do a plus and then parentheses here or quotes percent sign like that, and then we'll do space chance, capital letters. We'll keep it unique. There we go. All right, so big debug statement, but it's going to show us that the ability works, hopefully. Gonna go ahead and press play. Hopefully it all works. Wow, okay, well, I guess this is a sign. Something happened. Let me look at the program details. My Unity just crashed, so. And apparently I'm in 4.5, not 4.6. Okay, so go ahead and open that back up. I really do want to try to test this out. Hopefully I'm not building something you guys are it's gonna crash on you. Shouldn't. I don't know why that's happening. Okay, I don't know what the hell's going on right now. I guess this is a good spot to end the video. Hopefully, what is going on? Why is this crashing? Alright, well, sorry about that. I'm going to have to end the video here. We'll come back and work on it next time. Hopefully, I don't know what's going on with my computer today. It's acting up. MonoDevelop keeps freezing, and Unity is freezing on me, so I apologize for that. But in the next video, we're going to go ahead and continue working on this. Please leave in the comments below, how you feel about the status effects, kind of your ideas. Let me know what you guys are working on. I really like reading about it. You can please follow me on Twitter, Facebook, or Twitch, and subscribe to the channel. It supports me. It's great. I like having all the feedback. If you enjoyed the video, please like the video. If you hate the video, you can go ahead and dislike it. It's up to you. But I'll talk to you guys next time.